Okay, it says 7 on the screen.
Is it?
We can wait 1 minute, that's fine.
iPad was at 6:59, so I figured I should wait. Good evening, everybody. We'd like to welcome everybody to the April 17th, 2023 City Council meeting. If you could all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'd appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, if we could get a roll call.
Councilmember Stroman?
Here.
Councilmember Walker?
Here.
Councilmember Engel?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hagan?
Here.
And Mayor Belger?
Here. All right, first up on our agenda is the consent calendar. These items are considered routine in nature and are acted upon by a single action unless requested by an individual council member or a member of the public for special consideration. First up, do we have anything we need to pull up here? Anybody?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to pull item number 2. In particular, I have a question in regards to check number 078760 to the Ardura Group.
All right, is there anything from the crowd that would like to be pulled? All right, well then let's, I'll entertain a motion for everything for the balance of that.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. So what is your question, Councilman Stroman?
So about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, we received a presentation from the Ardura Group, basically highlighting to us what they're planning on doing for the surface water project. And so I just wanted to ask staff, is it possible to get some sort of schedule or a schedule of deliverables when Ardura is planning on submitting like certain milestones, whether that's like design development drawings or 50% construction documents, 100% construction documents, just so we can track their payments? Because, I mean, this is a pretty significant check, $40,391.58, and I think it would be helpful for our constituents to know what exactly they got for the $40,391 from Ardura.
Sure. Okay, so some type of schedule of work or,
Typically in their design contracts, there'll be milestones listed, you know, schematic design, design development, construction documents, and then there's back checks along the way. It would just be helpful, and then included in that would be a breakdown what their payments are due. So they have a total contract value, and then it's broken down by, okay, the minute they give the 50% documents, this is what they're owed, et cetera, just so we know exactly where they're at and in the design process, not only council, but also the community as well.
sure. Okay.
Any other questions? All right,
So back to my question, I'm assuming that the $40,391 was for design fees, but up to what point do we know?
I believe that had more to do with the environmental and the realignment studies that they're doing right
Okay.
now. Yeah, I don't think we've gotten into full design. It's more working with the county on realignment down the public right-of-ways.
Okay.
As well as environmental assessments.
Okay,
But I can double check and include that with the schedule.
okay,
So I'll do that as well.
thanks. Nothing further.
Then we probably need a motion on approving check number 78760.
I'll motion to approve check number 078760 to the Ardura Group in the amount of $40,391.58.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Next up, staff communications and updates.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you, you have the monthly reports, including the treasurer's report, all for March, the police department, animal control, recreation, development services, public works, building department, water department, and wastewater treatment plant reports. If you have any questions, staff are available to answer anything you have.
Any questions? Dean? Were there any questions from the audience or out online for any of the items on staff communications and reports? Hearing none, then I guess we'll move to probably the last item.
So I was just going to go through each of the department heads
Okay.
as well. Superintendent Collins, do you have any updates you'd like to give council?
The only update, we have farmer's market starting this week out on Main Street. Event's starting up now. So I think it's the third Wednesday of every month for a few months now. So if you are able to make it out there, they've got quite a few vendors showing up this year, so it'll be pretty exciting. Baseball seems to be going fairly good. We had a bye week last week, so we're going into the second half of the season this week. Made a few changes in the 8U group with pitching machines. See how that works out. That's all I've got for now.
Finance Director?
There's not really much of an update here. The treasurer's report, it just shows the two negative balance where we're still waiting for reimbursements for. Aside from that, I'm reaching out to all departments head to work on the mid-year budget, so hopefully I can get that up and ready for the next council meeting and provide you guys with an update as to what mid-year looked like thus far.
Thank you. Sergeant Zambrana?
Nothing update for the department.
Thank you. So then we'll move on to my reports for city manager's report. First item I have, the city has received an appeal from the applicant McDonald's. They are appealing the Planning Commission's decision on their project. We have scheduled the appeal for the May 1st meeting. Due to the potential that we think we'd have a lot of people in attendance at the meeting, and you did receive an email on this, we're looking to start that special meeting at 6 p.m. That way everybody has an opportunity to have a say, and it doesn't keep us here too late if we can get that extra hour in. So the McDonald's appeal is scheduled for May 1st at 6 p.m. And all that information will be provided to you in your agenda packet, which includes all of the items that went to Planning Commission and an updated staff report explaining that as well. Senior housing. So I've been in contact with Sydney Stones with CCH, who was the person who provided the presentation to the council a few weeks ago. I've been sharing with him the feedback and questions that council and members of the community have been asking. We're ready to schedule a workshop for the month of May. He gave me some dates that he won't be available, and so I have dates that we can potentially book. We were looking at either May 10th or 11th or May 31st, trying to avoid Memorial Day weekends, but also not running into school board meetings or other meetings, planning commission meetings, recreation meetings. However, we do have a council meeting scheduled for May 15th if council was interested, because I know that all of you still have a lot of questions, and we're taking our time moving this forward, making sure we're getting all of our information together. I can schedule that for that meeting as well, either at the 7 p.m. or we could bump it up earlier if interested. So I wanted to provide you that option if you were interested. But if not, if you're not interested in the May 15th, I'd be looking to get together some type of workshop, either that week of the 10th or end of the month, in the month of May. Any interest on a council meeting date from anyone?
I would be okay with the 5:15 if we started early. I know there's going to be, depending on how long Sydney thought he might have information to go back and forth, if he thinks there's adequate time there. Might be
Yeah, and so our meetings
one
are
meeting of
typically
one of
scheduled-
multiple, maybe.
Yeah, it would be a special meeting that would start at 6 PM, and so basically the rest of the remainder of the meeting would move forward afterwards, and so.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Would that be, I'd want something like this for the citizens to be involved, obviously.
Yes, it would be advertised as a community workshop, so we would advertise for it, make sure any groups would be notified of it.
I just
And we-
thinking 5:15, sorry to interrupt.
No, no problem, go ahead.
5:15 might be difficult, I'm not sure.
Okay.
If
This is like the first of, I'm thinking multiple workshops, and so I'm sure I could schedule 2 for the month of,
I mean, I could schedule, I just want to make sure if we, is it something we could take? Like, can we ask the general public if that's a time that they would be okay with?
sure, that's,
Is that-
yeah.
That would be 6.
The time is 6, Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, okay, I thought you
The
said.
date is
5.
5/15.
Oh, gotcha. Let me rewind that. I misheard you.
And what we've been able to do in the past as well, with other projects, is hold a workshop during the day and then hold an evening workshop. And so I can also work with Mr. Stone on potentially trying to do 2 workshops maybe that day, one maybe in business hours, and then maybe have him hang out for a little while, and then do the evening portion. We are looking at trying to do them other places other than City Hall as well. So I'll be talking to him as this progresses, trying to have one either at the community center, other locations, if that generates more interest and attendance and things as well, so.
I think it's important that we get some feedback from Ann Shaddix, our Commissioner on Aging, on this item. But I also, I would agree that it's important to have a meeting during working hours, because it's difficult for some seniors to get out after dark. So we should probably take this on the road as much as we can and get the information out there to as many seniors as we can. But I would look to Ann for some feedback as well.
Okay. Sure, that'd be fine if you want, if you like.
Well, I commend you for this plan because it's really important to hear from the seniors. My guess is you're not going to get any seniors coming out at nighttime. So this is going to have to be a daytime event. I also would like to meet with staff prior to make sure that we have clarification on some of the specifics and the information is consistent. So I'm asking for a special meeting for that purpose. But I think that we need to hear from the seniors, and certainly if they don't come, I'll be there to, I will have heard from them through the Fun Bunch and so forth and carry their message as well. And thank you for including me.
Ann, can I ask a question while you're here?
Yes.
So if this meeting is set for May 15th, which is less than a month, does that give seniors enough time to plan for that meeting, or should we consider moving it further out in the month of May?
Well, I'll meet with them Wednesday, and I'll get their input. I'll see if, I'm thinking that the 15th probably is an okay date, but let me get their input on Wednesday, and then I'll give you the response. Okay?
I'd rather not push it out myself. The earlier the better.
Yeah,
We've got somebody who's interested. We need to keep them interested and show our interest. Pushing it
absolutely.
out
I
to
mean, and I
June
could
is
also
not
work on
something I think
booking
we should be doing.
multiples.
Yeah.
Because we can always book them and then cancel them or reschedule. And so I could shoot for, a May 10th or 11th, a May 15th, and a 31st, and see if he's interested in all 3, and then kind of a, to be determined actual confirmation and/or location.
I think you'd be wise to start with one date, May 15th.
Okay?
And then after that meeting, if we see that there's still people that that couldn't come or whatever, you might want to have a follow-up, but I would focus just on one date in the beginning.
The 15th, Dominique, could
The
we do
15th.
during the day for the seniors? And then, like we've been talking about, have a workshop at 5:30 or 6 o'clock prior to that council meeting for those that couldn't attend the daytime session?
Sure, I could put that out to Mr. Stone and have him confirm it. So we're looking at 5:15 the evening, starting at 5:30
It's up to, I don't know what
or
the rest
6.
of the
Either one
council
is fine.
schedule.
I just have to make sure it's advertised that way.
Feelings?
6 PM sounds good to me.
I'm okay with 6.
Okay.
So
Any chance to get out of the office and get here?
We're shooting for 5:15 at 6 PM, and then for the afternoon, what time do you think is?
What day of the week is the 15th?
Monday.
Okay. I would say 2,
Okay.
maybe, in the
It actually works
afternoon.
out pretty well, yeah.
But again, I can get feedback from you. Could you just tell me where the meeting would be? Will that be here? Will it be at the community center? Where will that be?
So the night meeting would be located here.
Okay,
So we would probably shoot for the 2 PM being here as well, so we don't have any confusion there. And
okay,
then if we do a second round and we have it at a different location, and if we have 2 meetings, we'll try to have both of them there.
okay. And I can get feedback on Wednesday, and I'll call you on Thursday and give you that
Okay, that
update.
sounds good.
Okay?
Okay.
Be on YouTube?
If they're located here, we could definitely put them on, yeah, we can definitely, council's good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put the workshops on. Okay, senior working hours, okay. Updated cell phone information. I did check in with our IT consultant, and any of the applications that are used for city cell phones or personal cell phones that are downloaded through our IT consultant, they would have full access to everything. So City Attorney Splendorio had concerns regarding the capability of being able to access anything that's needed in that app if needed. And they did confirm that because it's an application they utilize and they have the license to any requested information through the application, whether on a personal phone or on a city cell phone. And then the question came up about, what's it called? The Councilmember Stroman brought it up. I need to look it up again. The forward to IP, what's it called? Voice over IP forwarding, and that is available as well. So both of those options are available for phones. And I believe those were the biggest concerns that were coming up, was making sure that if it was through an application, if needed, that the city would be able to get the proper information that it's being requested for, which is yes, and then that option of the call forwarding to voice over IP is an option.
Is there a cost indicated for that?
There was not. I did follow up. I haven't heard anything back, but those types of services that I've seen in the past are typically pretty minimal, because we already have the system up and running, so.
I think it's important to see what the cost is before council gives any direction, either
Okay.
for or against.
Okay. I actually called earlier. I haven't heard back yet. I can follow up on that item and see if I can get a cost. And then regarding Liberty Business Park, we did receive the last response. This was from the remaining parcel, which is the largest one in the development. And they had indicated when they completed the survey that they weren't interested in developing or selling their property at this time, and that the almond orchard was planted 7 years ago, and so we mostly will want this until they are gone. So he just indicated that they were just starting to produce, and so at this time, they weren't interested in developing or selling their portion of the business park.
That's a lot. Is it along Highway 120 or is it the Brennan?
It's the portion right past the shopping center that's all almond orchard.
So that corner
I think
of
it's
the
8
barn
acres.
and all that.
Yeah,
that's
all of
the
that
one, and
area.
They're not interested.
Correct, and this was the property owner. The property owner does have a lease out with the company that has the almond orchard.
I appreciate you looking into that.
No problem.
Just want to make sure we're kind of turning over every stone.
No, no problem at all. Was there any additional stuff that you wanted staff to do on Liberty Business Park?
Not at this point.
Okay.
I might look into it on my own,
Okay,
and then if I bring something back, I will bring it back to the council, but other than that, it sounds like they're not interested, obviously, at this
Okay.
point, so I appreciate it, and I appreciate the input from the citizens on it. And Kurt, I did want to say thank you. Last time you brought up the idea of having to, pin the land to it, I thought that was a good idea, and so I just want to say, I appreciate you saying that.
and I'll, of course, keep this stuff on file, and so if anything comes up, I'll still have it to refer back to when needed.
Thank you.
And that is all I have on your city manager report.
All right. Then we can move on to matters presented from the audience. The public may address the city council on any item that is on the agenda at the time the item is called. The public may also address the city council on any item not on the agenda that is within the subject matter of the city of Escalon. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. Unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. You may state your name and address for the record, however, it is not required. Due to state law, action will not be taken on any item that is not on the agenda, and except for brief responses, the council is prohibited from discussing any item not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and/or placed on a future agenda. The determination of whether an item is within the subject matter of the city is at the discretionary decision made by the mayor. And with that, we open it up to the public if anybody would like to come up front and talk.
Ed Alves. Council, Mayor. Last week or 2 weeks ago when you had the meeting, we were discussing cell phones, and I was listening in on it, and there was a lot of confusion about whether I had a phone from the city, whether they gave it to me, and all that. I'm going to clear that up for you. First of all, the phone I had, I paid for. It was offered to me by the city, I paid for it, and I paid 6 months in advance to have the service. Now you're asking me why. That phone service was called First Alert. It allowed this phone that I own from the city the opportunity to be live when everybody else's phone went down. I bought it thinking somebody on the staff should have this phone on the council in case there's an emergency. Somebody could communicate. That's why that phone was mine, and that's why I bought it. And I would like to see one of you guys step up and do the same thing. Somebody on this council should have a phone in case of emergency, when all the other phones are down. They should have a phone that they communicate to the rest of the council. I paid for that myself, not a penny came from the city. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
It's important when these things come up, don't poo-poo them. Find out more details. Last week you said, well, we're not going to do this again. You should have looked into it and said to yourself, wow, why did he have done that? And then maybe this our city manager could have dug into it and gave you more information, which is important because this is important. I think one of you got to step up and get a phone because, like I said, in case of emergency, I know the police have them and staff has them, I believe, but one council member should have it. The other thing was the agenda. I've had people ask me, is there an agenda at the library weekly or bi-weekly for the people to look at?
No, there is not.
Okay. Is there a budget at the library?
No, there is
I
not.
didn't think so. Okay. My recommendation is, and people have asked me this, that we put a budget in this library so people could go and visit the library and look at the budget. And the other thing about the budget is critical is that we print it big enough so people can read it that are elderly. Because that print is so small, it's difficult to read. And I think we covered that once before, but somehow it slipped through the cracks. As far as the development, you guys are tired of talking about the development out there. I get that. Mr. Stroman.
Yes, sir.
You didn't like to hash it out over and over because it seems to get to be a hassle for you. Do you have any ideas at all how this council or this staff can come up with an idea to fund the operations of this community? I mean, do you have a better idea, or do you have any idea? I mean, you did mention that you were going to get the police to raise. I didn't see them get a raise. So my question is, if you guys are going to shoot down everything that comes up, have something to offer instead, because you don't.
Yes, I do, Mr. Alves.
What do you have?
Give me a call and we'll talk about it.
I don't have time to give you a call.
Okay.
What do you got?
I'm not allowed to talk about those items because it's not on the agenda, but give me a call and we'll talk.
Yeah. Put it on the online or somewhere, so we can read it. The other thing is, Mr. Dangzer came up with the idea the other day about tying the infrastructure cost to the properties. I don't think that's a bad idea either. It's one of the ones I can actually agree with them on. And the other people come up and asking costs. How much is this going to cost? How much money are we going to make? You don't know those things until you go through the process. You're going to have to find out what type of development you're putting there, who's interested. I have two people that are interested. One to put a mini shopping center in. The other one wants to put in a marble place, 20,000 square foot building. Now, how much tax dollar comes off that stuff? I don't know. And we won't know. There has to be some sort of studies done on these things. There's no easy answer in those questions. If it was, it'd be great, but it's not. I think that covers it. Thank you.
Kurt Danziger, Mayor, Council. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Stroman, for bringing up the surface water project and getting more updates so the citizens of this town that are putting in a lot of money for this can stay updated. And in that vein, I would like somebody from the City Council, maybe two, to save me the time of writing a council idea, to do the same thing for the treatment plant. We're putting a lot of money out there. We got Blackwater working on the system, and they're working basically off of what was submitted by PACE. And when you go through the PACE material there, a lot of our problems at the treatment plant could be mitigated by pre-treatment from the industries. And they laid it out what that should be. They showed the pictures of what we were getting, the total suspended solids, the oxygen demand because of that. So I'd like to see updates from Blackwater, staff, anybody, on what we're actually doing. The city has a permit that calls out what they can discharge to our treatment plant. I don't know if you know that. Nobody enforces it. It's just a piece of paper. We need to enforce that. And I think, Justin, weren't you called upon by PACE when they went out to sample because they couldn't get into the plant? They needed to get Justin out there to do that. When we go to enforce those discharges, we need to either have somebody on staff or get a contract enforcement company, have them pay for it, and they report directly to the city. So those are kind of just some brief ideas on the treatment plant. I think we could save a lot of money going down the road with things that we have to do with the plant if we can stop them at the source. So those are my ideas. Thank you.
Anybody else? Please.
Roxana Schott, 1700 Riesling Way, Escalon, California. Anyway, I'm here tonight to discuss the Liberty Business Park, and I know I was a little disappointed to hear one of our council members saying it was a waste of time, and he was very frustrated and really didn't want to talk about it anymore. But you've got to go back when this was originated, and I believe it was in 2007, Dominic, if I'm correct?
Correct.
And there were several workshops with the city, and they encouraged it to become an industrial park. I was always commercial. At one time, I think I was planned development, but it was rezoned back to commercial, so it didn't matter to me really one way or the other. Actually, it limited me more by having the industrial park. But I'm hoping tonight, I think Kurt had actually a good idea about a bond. I know there's different types of bonds, Melleroos, Marx Roos, and that's maybe something that instead of throwing our hands up, maybe we could look into and dig into a little bit, maybe and do some investigations. What else was I going to say about this? I know that we have a gentleman in the audience tonight that has purchased 40 acres out there, and he has made a big commitment to the city, and not only in deferred improvement agreement, but also purchasing the land, going out and paying permit fees, doing a mega building out there, along with employing several people. I think 100 plus, maybe I'm mistaken on that. You can talk to him. But yes, I think it's going to contribute not only property tax, which is going to be included with your improvements, of course, it's going to be based on about 1.20%, I think. It's possibly some sales tax. I'm not going to say it will or it won't, but there's possibly some sales tax benefits. And again, you'd have to talk to him about that. But I would like to see the city continue to work with us and not just drop this and say it's a waste of time after there's been so much time and expense put into this, and come up with some ideas. Maybe we can do a workshop again. Maybe we can get some input. But again, Kurt has, I think, good idea as far as some kind of financing bond. So if it be tied to the property or however. But anyway, that's my input. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, may I say something to Ms. Schatz?
Quickly.
Ms. Schatz, with all due respect, I was not saying the discussion was a waste of time. What I was upset about at the last meeting was that of those property owners, you're the only one that has taken the time
Back there, too.
to come to our meetings. And now, Mr. Yates.
Yes.
That was my point at the last meeting.
Thank you for establishing that.
You come here, you actually take the time and you share some feedback with council. It's very much appreciated. If you go back and you watch the YouTube video, I used the baseball analogy, and I think I said like 1 for 9 batting average because you're the 1 for 9.
Yeah, but I didn't understand that.
Okay. So,
I'm not a baseball player.
right. So that was my point, was that you are making the effort. And if I said it was a waste of time, and back to Mr. Alves' comment, I don't think the discussion of Liberty Business Park is a waste of time. My frustration is that you're the only one that's making the effort to come to council.
I know, but I just felt that was the end of the discussion, no more if I was the only one. But like I said, Mr. Yates has attended several too. And I think that we had a little bit of a barrier as far as translation on the forms with Mr. Lopez. He had to get an interpreter to go through that. Mrs. Lopez did, so she could understand it. So, and then as far as the one property owner, the large parcel owner, I know that, I don't know if I can say this or not, but some of the assessments were sent to one of the one-third owners up in Elk Grove. I know that the other gentleman that I had honestly thought that he had passed away, but I believe he's close to 90 years old now. And he still owns a portion of that, I believe 1/3. So I don't know if it went to his address or if he was ever questioned about it, or it was just the one person that owns 1/3 up in Elk Grove. Maybe we can check on that. And if not, I have phone numbers for him. So,
Talk to staff.
okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else from the audience or online that would like to speak? All right, then we will close matters presented from the audience and move on to administrative matters. Number 5, ratify the San Joaquin County Council of Governments annual financial plan for 23-24.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the JPA agreement, or Joint Powers Agreement between SJCOG and member cities in San Joaquin County, each governing body is tasked with reviewing and ratifying SJCOG's annual financial plan following adoption by the SJCOG Board of Directors. On March 23, 2023, the Board of Directors adopted the attached annual financial plan for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. Gracie Orozco, Finance Manager with SJCOG, will be present during the meeting to answer any questions you may have. Come on up. Thank you.
So Grace Orozco, I'm also an Escalonian, so. Do you have any questions on regard to the budget?
Any questions?
I don't. I've seen it a couple of times at this point since I am representing Escalon on SJCOG, so.
Gracie was kind enough earlier today to send me a link to the 6-minute video because I realized that three of you are new to the board and may not know the background on SJCOG, and so I sent that email out giving that brief video on explaining their mission and what they help work with the cities. They're basically transportation oriented. The middleman that receives a lot of money from the federal and state government for things like roads and streets and transportation, and then basically divides it amongst the member agencies that are located in the county. So
I just had one question. It was on the profession, I think it was professional
Services?
services. Yeah, it looked to me like it just ballooned up.
It did.
Is there like a specific, I mean, it can't just be inflation.
No, no, no.
That's like 200 times, or sorry, 2 or 3 times as big.
Our budget increased 50% from last fiscal year. We received 3 very large grants, and the majority of those are being performed by professional services.
Okay, thank you.
We just got an email regarding the 120.99 interchange next level, so we made it on a federal list for that. Just for those in the area that may not know that, they're planning a major reconstruct of the 99-120 interchange. Hopefully that'll fix a fair portion of the congestion there. We can only hope.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes.
So I'm assuming, I mean, this is the first time we've seen this budget, so I'm assuming that this same presentation goes to all the members of SJCOG, and then as all city councils say yea or nay, we agree to it.
That is correct.
Okay.
any other questions?
That was easy for you.
I don't know if you want to take any questions from the public or on the phone.
Yeah, any questions from the public out there?
It's our share.
It's a receipt of revenue from state and federal funds that we get.
These are grants that come from outside agencies. So this is a budget that represents the grants. Yeah.
On the phone, just in case.
Is anybody on the phone that might have any questions? All right. Well, there we go. Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate it. Next on the agenda, council communications.
I need you guys to,
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Didn't realize we had to move on that. If there's no further discussion, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to ratify the San Joaquin Council of Governments Annual Fiscal Plan for the fiscal year 2023 to 2024.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
thank you.
All right. Council communications. Councilman Stroman.
So just a few things tonight. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, and then the 2x2 meeting with the school district was postponed due to spring break for this Thursday. But today's April 17th, and we have a 3/4 empty swimming pool over at the high school. Are we prepared as a city? What's going to happen with the swimming pool? I mean, if the school district agrees to the replastering, then it's going to be going crazy to try to open up the pool by summer, but what's the alternative?
I don't think there was any plans to open the pool this year at all. If they agree to plaster, it'll happen sometime this year, hopefully, and then having it prepared for next year.
So there will be no swimming pool for City of Escalon this year?
Yeah, just like last year, the pool is in the same condition as it was last year. That hasn't changed at all yet.
I think, if I may.
Sure.
There's coupons, I think we did last year, right? For swimming and other.
And we would basically
swimming
offer
pools.
what we did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just so it's public information, at the last list of demands, there was a payment of $3,600 to the school district for ongoing school maintenance, or swimming pool maintenance. And I brought up at the March 2x2 meeting, I asked the school board members that were in attendance, you're charging the city and it's the taxpayer $3,600 for maintenance for a pool that's 3/4 of the way empty. What kind of maintenance are you doing on a pool that's 3/4 empty? And they couldn't really answer the question. And so at the next meeting, this Thursday, my next follow-up question is going to be, okay, you drained the pool in October or November. You didn't do maintenance in those months. November, December, January, February, March, April, times $3,600 a month. In my opinion, I think those fees should be refunded back to the city because they're not doing maintenance. So what are they spending the money on? So that'll be a question for the school board. I would like to clarify my statements, and I mentioned this to Ms. Schatz during matters presented from the audience, but my discussions at the last meeting were not against Liberty Business Park. My comments about Liberty Business Park are the fact that I believe that a consortium of all the owners for Liberty Business Park, not just Ms. Schatz, and now Mr. Yates, come together collectively to the city council. We need to work this together. This needs to be a partnership. Because if you read the specific requirements of the Liberty Business Park, and on pages 7-9 and 7-10 and 11, it talks about who is responsible for paying for those improvements. And when this was brought up with Mr. Yates last year, the council at that time said that they gave him a sunset period to try to put in those improvements. And I don't think that it's fair for Mr. Yates to carry that entire burden to do those improvements. But at the same time, there's something that needs to be brought to the table by the other property owners, because otherwise Mr. Yates is going to be sitting there at a sunset period, and it's not very fair to him. So I just would like to clarify that, why I said what I said about Liberty Business Park. And then lastly, over the course of the last 6 to 8 weeks, I've been working with city staff and myself. We've had contact with Assemblyman Flora's office. We've had some discussions with Senator Egmont Talamonte's office, California State Senator Talamonte's office, as well as Congressman Harder's office to discuss these infrastructure projects. And everybody knows that the Biden administration had a really big infrastructure project, or infrastructure bill that passed. And so I'm working hard to try to figure out how we can get some of those infrastructure dollars, both state and federal dollars, here to Escalon to try to absorb some of the costs of those projects for the surface water project and for the sewage treatment plant upgrades. So as those discussions move forward, I will certainly report out, but I just want to thank staff for working with me on those, and don't know where it's going, but we'll continue to have those phone conversations and emails and meetings and see what happens, see what we can do for the residents of Escalon. That's it.
All right, thank you. Councilman Walker.
I don't have much. Just thank you guys for coming out. Mark your calendars, May 15th for a senior housing workshop if you're interested in having that developed and having some input and knowing what's going on. So please make sure you put that on your calendar if you're interested. And then the second thing is our first farmers market is on Wednesday. So come on out to the community and participate and have some fun. And it looks like there's a lot of good offerings this year moving forward. They've kind of opened it up, and it looks like it will be an exciting time. So I hope to see you guys out there.
Thanks. Councilman Engel.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I too am excited about the farmer's market, so thanks for bringing that up earlier, Justin, and for Councilman Walker for mentioning that again. I look forward to seeing everybody out there. I do want to express a personal hand of thanks out to the community due to a recent severe illness in my family. There's been a great outreach from the community and have expressed a lot of support to my family and I. And I just wanted to publicly say I appreciate that very much, and I apologize to the people maybe that I haven't got back to in regards to that. It's been a challenging time, but we do appreciate being in your thoughts and prayers, and thank you for that.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I just wanted to bring it up so that people are aware again of Love Escalon Day. Hopefully you can get out there and help our community by participating in one of the projects that are available. I think it's a good way to really give back to your community. Also, I know the Liberty Business Park is a difficult conversation. I appreciate everyone putting in their ideas, and reality is we have to look into how do we, fortify our revenue moving forward so that we're in a position to do the things that the citizens have requested. So if you have ideas, by all means, I'm all ears on it, because I think doesn't matter whose idea it is. It's just a matter of whether or not we can come up with an idea that's going to benefit the town and not destroy our character and who we are. Other than that, I think obviously I think the farmers market is something that we should all participate in, and I think that's it for today.
Thank you. Sentiment echoed again about the farmers market. Looking forward to that. For those that were there on Saturday night, the American Legion Chicken Tri-Tip Dinner was a success. So remember, third Saturdays of the month out there for that. They usually put on a pretty good little program there to help them sustain their facility out there. Other than that, I'm going to call it a night for that. We're going to move into a closed session here. And if there's anything to report, we'll come back and report after that. We thank everybody for coming. Thanks.